But in practice, I had to play against Larry Bird. And you know, as a competitor, when you're matched up against someone who's touted as the best, you have pride as an individual player. Right. You're not just going to go into practice and lay down. And this dude used to come into practice every day and go, Pick, sorry, I got your ass today. And I would be like, nah, that's not going to happen. He'd be like, yeah, nah, yes, it is. Don't take it personal, but I'm really going to kick your ass. And that's how practice would start off, Jay. Right. And I would be like, all right, let's go ahead.
As great as Larry Bird was in the game, it wasn't even close to the things that he did and said in practice. And Ed Pinckney, who played for the Boston Celtics alongside Larry Bird, would get to see firsthand, up close and personal, that all of the trash-talking stories that he heard about Larry Bird were true.
I mean, he'd go by an opposing team's bench, and and it was never a team that was a bad team. It was always a good team. I can remember a particular game we played against the Clippers, and it was a better than normal year for the Clippers. And sometimes I would get the start, and I would play in the front court with Bird and with Parrish.
Bird and Pinckney will start at the forwards. Of course, Kevin McHale will come in and play more minutes than Pinckney at the power forward spot. The Harper went out of bounds and Boston controls. Bird finds Pinckney all alone for the reverse jam. Ken Norman looked like he got lost.
Because McHale came off the bench. He was, year in and year out, one of the six men of all time. And we were out there, close game.
And nobody ever remembers Clippers being favored over the Celtics before. Bird with about 3 or 4 moves before he takes it off the glass. Bird gets his second field goal of the fourth period, has 23 points. Clippers by 5, 2:20 to go in the ball game. Bird, that's a 2-pointer. Clippers by 3.
Bird is having an okay game, but it's tight in the end.
The man for Boston has been Reggie Lewis off the bench. 28 points, his season high. He was the man who just hit the go-ahead free throws. Charles Smith against McHale. Got Parrish airborne. Smith with the bucket. 5.1 seconds remaining. Boston wants and gets a timeout. Oh my, Charles Smith. That took a lot of poise.
Bird tells the coach, I'm going to get the ball in the corner and I'm going to shoot a 3 and the game is over. He told the opposing team. He's telling them, right. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, come on. I mean, you hear these stories, but they can't be true. It was like a normal occurrence, Jay, but that was one of my first years on the team. And I'm saying to myself, like, the dude just told the opposing team where he was going to shoot the ball from.
Johnson, Parrish, Reggie Lewis, Bird, and McHale on the floor for the Celtics, trailing by 1 with 5.1 seconds to go.
And just as Larry Bird said, he gets to a spot, but this time, instead of letting Bird get his shot off, he gets double-teamed and fouled as he goes up to shoot.
Into Bird. He's fouled with 0.2 of a second remaining on the shot attempt. Larry Bird, who shoots at a 92% clip, draws the foul from Charles Smith.
And with 2 free throws to win the game, the greatest clutch shooter in NBA history goes to the line and does exactly what everyone expects him to do.
Look at Larry saying to the crowd, come on, yell a little bit louder. Bird shooting 92%. He gets the first. It's tied. This will effectively win the game with 0.2 of a second remaining.
Well, I've seen stranger things happen, Bob. You never really know here, but he's got to knock this one in.
And does.
Doesn't even look, just walks right off the court and into the locker room. And everybody's like...
Boston escapes with a 1-point lead, and the Clippers are yet to defeat Boston in L.A. since the move from San Diego.
And everybody was like, yeah, he does that all the time. It's that's just what he does. And it was incredible to watch him play and to witness his greatness, man. It was unbelievable.
There's Bird, came off the baseline screen, goes to the left hand. Bird has 14 now.
And what you saw in the game was nothing compared to what Larry Bird did in practice, according to Quinn Buckner, who won a title with Larry Bird in 1984 and played on the Celtics during some of the greatest years of Larry Bird's career.
When I got to Boston, he was the first person I went to because we're from similar backgrounds. I'm Midwest. He was at Indiana, and I got to watch him in his heyday. And I'm telling you, what you saw in the game wasn't even close to what he did in practice. I'll give you an example, and this is just a small example. Larry, if you're playing, shootout where everybody has to shoot the ball at the basket and try the first one to get them in, Larry could literally hit your ball in the air and knock his in the basket, and would do that. If you're about to win, he would do that. He'd hit your ball in the air and let your ball knock his in the rim.
Wow.
Deflected
off your ball.
Off your ball.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And he did things like that when he just felt like being basically superior because he was good enough that he could do all of those things all the time.
Oh, wait a second. Off the glass.
That check's had my name on it for a week now, and I knew I was going to win this thing.
This is how much of a psychological edge that Larry Bird had over the league, because it wasn't enough to be the best shooter on the team, but Larry Bird had to make sure to talk trash and demoralize you to the point that you would never even think to question his shooting ability versus anybody in the world.
And I'll tell you a crazy story. Mark Polanski, one of my Villanova teammates, would come to Celtic practice. He was a New England guy, and he'd occasionally come to practice.
Okay.
And Mark said to me one day before practice, he said, "Man, I want to just shoot against Larry. You think I could do it? Like, think I want to just challenge him in the shooting."
Right.
And Mark Polanski is one of the all-time shooters at Villanova, and I would just tell him, like, Mark, you're not beating Birdie. I'm telling you, don't bother me with this stuff. You're not going to win in the shooting contest. But I mean, that's how my practices were every day. I mean, it was great to compete against those guys and learn what it meant to be like a high-level pro.
Larry Bird was so good that even while at the tail end of his career, he made sure that the young players knew that he was twice as good as any of them. Because when Brian Shaw got to the Celtics and played with Larry Bird from 1988 to 1991, Larry Bird literally challenged him and another young player, Reggie Lewis, to a game of 1-on-2 and 2 NBA players versus one aging Larry Bird. Now that's greatness.
Then when
Larry Bird opens up with a double. Bird over Malone. Bird's 2 out of 3 from the floor. Bird feeling it from outside. He's 3 out of 4, and they've all been from the perimeter early in the game.
Kevin McHale was locking Karl Malone up on the other end, and Larry was talking about, we 2 bad white boys, ain't we?
2-man game with Bird and McHale's 2 for 2. McHale is 3 for 3 from Larry Bird. Malone and McHale mixing it up already in this game. Malone really pounding McHale on that entry pass. After McHale hit 4 in a row, Karl started to get tough with it.
And all because of Larry Bird's trash talk.
Bird from 20. Bird cocked his thumb back and his finger and pointed his finger at Tony Brown and went, "Pow, got you." When he's feeling good, he talks a little trash.
Well, he does. He's been known to say a little bit while out on the floor.
But believe it or not, Larry Bird's teammates got it even worse in practice. In fact, Larry Bird talked so much trash to Ed Pinckney in practice that he didn't even want to take his kids to go trick-or-treating at Larry Bird's house because he didn't want to hear Larry's mouth. It literally scarred him for life.
Every single day in practice, I had to play against Bird, McHale, and Parrish. Legendary Hall of Fame front line. So, like, Chris Ford, because Larry was Larry, would run most of the offense through him. So if there was a particular set that didn't go right, he would say, "Stop, run that back again." And I'd be like, "Nah, let's keep the play going, man. Come on, he didn't score that time." And Chris Ford would be like, "No, we're not looking for that option on the play. We want to get into the second and third part of the option of our play because, they might defend that." And of course, it would go right back to Larry, and Larry would score and talk. This dude, you want to talk about trash? Talk so much trash, man. It was unbelievable. I mean, you know my son, right? They would be like, hey, Dad, let's go trick-or-treating. Come on, we'll go by Parrish's house. We'll go by Bird's house. We'll go by McHale's house. Right. I'd be like, I'm not taking y'all by Larry's house, man. There's no way. I don't want to hear his trash talking. We can go by the other two guys. But, that guy talked more trash and, would back it up. As years have gone on, he sort of gets pushed by the wayside. But, not many people talk about Bird, and I think, that's a disservice.
And whether people continue to talk about Larry Bird or not, he will forever be remembered by all of his teammates because Larry Bird had an unbelievable confidence from day one as a rookie in the NBA. And after all the hype that Larry Bird had coming out of college, he immediately silenced one teammate that was his biggest doubter, Cedric Maxwell, who played on the Boston Celtics from 1977 to 1985 and won 2 championships alongside Larry Bird. But when Larry arrived as a rookie, Cedric Maxwell got the first glimpse of how great Larry Bird would be in the league in their very first practice.
When I walk in the first day of camp, them guys were on the floor stretching, and here comes the white savior, here comes this, here comes that. I sort of enjoyed it because I knew I was going to battle them all day.
I was the first guy really to guard Larry. And I remember I was like you, I was the king of the mountain, man. I was averaging about 20 and 10 when Bird got here.
Maxwell has another rebound and another 2 points and a chance for a three-point play. And this crowd loves it. As look at this, 28 points and 15 rebounds.
Yeah. So I'm thinking he's coming to this building. I'm looking at him, but we have the first practice. I'm thinking like, this ought to be a piece of cake. Yeah. Guy don't look fast, don't look good. Yeah. I'm about to do something to him. I'm thinking, he's slow, he can't get off a shot. He's not that strong. This is gonna be a layup. Bam, knocks down the jump shot. Okay, maybe that was luck. Gets the ball again. Bam, knocks down another jump shot. Now I'm thinking like, okay, hey, you know what? I'm gonna D this guy up. I'm gonna show him what it's like. 20 feet away, bam. 25 feet away, bam. My mind just goes to, damn, this white guy can play. Boy, I'm telling you what, it changed my opinion about racism in this world. Because I remember he scored the first basket jet on me. But as I proceeded, he kept going further and further and further away. And by the end of the practice, it finished. The first black person I got to, I said, you know what? That fucking white guy can play down there. Then every other person of color would ask me when the Celtics got ready to play, they're like, yo, man, how's this kid Bird? You about to find out. You about to find out.
Damn.